Today we're going to talk about 3 tips for making marriage counseling successful. If you're struggling in your marriage, this video is perfect for you. And don't miss out on one of the very best things I learned in marriage counseling at the end of the show. I'm Angela Howard, and my passion is to break the stigma of mental illness among fellow Christians. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get the first updates of new content. Have you ever heard people say that they've tried marriage counseling and it didn't work? I've actually heard this a lot. Sometimes it's because the couple just wanted to say that they've at least tried it before they called it quits. But they've already kind of decided to end the marriage before they even set foot in the counselor's door. Sometimes they get a counselor who isn't really trained in marriage counseling, and that really affects the whole process. It can definitely be complicated. But if you're thinking about starting this journey of marriage counseling, I want to set you up for success and be honest with you. When my husband and I went through marriage counseling, sometimes we drove in separate cars to therapy, and that is the truth. And for a while, it got worse before it got better, but it was totally worth the sacrifices that we made. 3 tips for making marriage counseling successful. Let's look at number 1. A good fit with a counselor matters. The first time that my husband and I went to marriage counseling, it was clear within the first couple of sessions that the counselor didn't like Mike. Well, that totally put him on guard, and he was just on edge the whole time. I'm pretty sure that Mike just sat on the couch with his arms crossed, kind of giving off that vibe that, look, I don't want to be here, I hate this, and I might even hate you. But for some reason, we kind of tortured ourselves with that bad fit for almost 6 months. I need to highlight the fact that this counselor came highly recommended. It doesn't really matter, though, if 20 other people loved the counselor if they aren't a good fit for you as a couple. So when we connected with our next counselor, it was the perfect fit. I have to give a huge shout out to Chuck Vero, who literally helped save our marriage. Chuck had some great assets going for him that are important for any marriage counselor. He was compatible with our personalities. He convinced us not to kill each other. That's kind of important. And he shared our Christian worldview. He was so easy to talk to. And he really created a place of safety for both of us. Number 2 is come to counseling with the same goal. We're committed to save our marriage. You won't make any progress unless you choose to move together in the same direction. Threatening divorce or holding your spouse hostage to the idea that you might be headed out the door at any moment, it's just not going to create the kind of environment for healing and change. Number 3 is stop blaming and take ownership. It's easy to blame our spouse for the brokenness in our relationship, but it takes 2 to form an unhealthy pattern in our marriage. So we need to take responsibility for that and for whatever it is that we're contributing to the difficulties between us, or we'll never see the transformation that we're really longing for. My husband Mike says that the good part about therapy is that it forces you to face conflict and be honest with yourself. And the bad part about therapy is that it forces you to face conflict and be honest with yourself. You can easily start to deceive yourself and hide from the truth. There's no chance of doing that if you want to be successful in counseling. He's a pretty smart guy, and I like him. I could easily blame Mike for hurting my feelings that time when we were visiting his family in Chicago and I threw a sippy cup at his head. Oh, it's so embarrassing to think back on that, and I can still hear it hitting his head and landing on the floor. But, our marriage would never have changed if I didn't take ownership for my actions. And finally, one of the best things that I learned in marriage counseling is don't talk to people about the process unless they're part of your healing and really support your effort to save your marriage. Those people are going to be toxic. So as you approach marriage counseling, remember what it says in James 3:2. Indeed, we all make mistakes. For if we could control our tongues, we would be perfect and could also control ourselves in every other way. So what tips would you add to the list? Comment below, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. And please subscribe to more videos. I'll be sharing some great tips and encouragement for whatever it is that you're facing, whether you're struggling with a mental illness or have a loved one who does.